Ladies and gentlemen, how are you? How are you doing? First things first, I'm going to monitor this. This is my first time streaming using OBS, and I'm not that smooth at it, I have to admit. But welcome. Welcome to you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're here. I'm not really sure how to know if you're here or not. There is a chat window up here. I'll try logging in. I know what I'll try doing. I'll try monitoring from one of my other YouTube accounts and see if I can. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to test this. Hello. Ah. Yes. It is working. Ladies and gentlemen. See, how does this look when I look? I can't. Is it because it's latent? There is a latency, isn't there? Yeah. There's a huge latency. Okay, I get you. Fair enough. Oh, and what if I hit this thing here? Do I see anything? I can see it here. How do I know that people are liking it? Guard your privacy and abide by community guidelines. All right. Well, so I guess I'll keep blathering on here. First things first, live stream. All right, now I want to interact with this window here. All right. Yeah, it's kind of interacting. I guess I have to scroll this way. Fair enough. All right, so is that working on both windows? Yeah, it looks like. Yeah, nice. All right. Okay, so one thing that I will do, there's a huge latency between what I do and what shows up. Let's see here. Yes. Goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm crushing it on TikTok lately. She's getting a lot of subscribers. Big names too. Who's this guy? Goodness. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know what I'm trying to figure out here is how to see how many people are watching. I guess at the moment it's just me. No, maybe not. I don't know. Let me know. Let me know if you're watching, and let me know if you've got something to say on this topic. I will admit I am testing out my live streaming software. This is my first live stream. It's my first live stream where I didn't just hit the live stream button on YouTube. So you can see I've kind of got a fancy window up here, right? I've got a PDF that I'm hoping to go through. I've got a cool little title up there. I've got my my logo. Yeah, all kinds of neat things. I think this could be a lot more productive. All right, look at that. Able to go through this PDF. This, ladies and gentlemen, is from the Common Coalition report. And I've just connected with the good folks at the Common Coalition. It's an organization of 50 volunteers. And they're doing great work. But mostly what they're doing is a much better job than what I'm trying to do, which is just sharing the information and helping people understand the data that is coming out of the Election Truth Alliance and out of smart elections. So, what am I hearing here? Well, that's kind of cool. Maybe I should turn this volume down just so we don't get any kind of, all right, echoes or anything. So, oh, welcome, good sir, or good ma'am. I wish I could see you. Welcome. You're my first guest of my first sophisticated live stream. Type something in the comments to let me know. Let me know if you can hear me. Because it's the first time I'm using this fancy, extremely complicated streaming software. And I don't know if I'd consider myself a tech head, you know. So let me know. Write me a little message. Let me know if you can hear me. Maybe I should write that in case you can't hear me. In case you can't hear me, you wouldn't know that I'm asking you this. So let me see. Do I have something to write with here? This is funny. Kudos to you. Oh, they left. They left. Gee whiz. Got to be more entertaining, I guess. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I guess what I have to do is just assume I'm talking to a huge audience. Gosh, well, you must be able to hear me because I could hear myself on my. Yeah, yeah. That was a silly question. That was silly for me to ask that person whether they could hear me because I'm monitoring myself, right? Okay. I should monitor myself on my iPad. It will be bigger. All right, so let's see here. How do I do this? Forgive me, ladies and gentlemen. But this is exciting. It's exciting. There's definitely some things I need to be able to do better. I think, sharing documents during a live stream is difficult. Really difficult. But I guess it's all a matter of getting these things set up ahead of time on the streaming software. Nonetheless, this is exciting. Oh, here's something. I'd like to test this out. Not working, huh? Set up ahead of time on the streaming software. Testing. Why doesn't this? This is exciting. My cool sounds. My cool. I'd like to test this out. Oh, because of this. This is what. Oh yeah. There it is. Check that out. That's so cool. And I could do this. Oh, thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. No, you're too kind. Thank you. All right. I could do this. Oh, thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Okay. Wow. No, you're too kind. Okay, as a tech check, this is working well. Hey, welcome. I'm going to start going through the evidence. Feel free to ask any questions as they come up. Ask away. So what I'm looking at here is turn. turn this down here for a second. So I'm going through the Common Coalition's report here. And the Common Coalition is an organization made up of volunteers, about 50 volunteers. And largely they're just helping to disseminate and explain the information that is being made available by two organizations mostly, the Election Truth Alliance and Smart Elections. So one of my favorite things to look at is the scatter plot graphs, but I don't think they show them in this. They really focus on this, the drop-off rate. So what are we looking at here with this drop-off rate? By the way, hey, Fontucky, California's in the house. You're about to get dinner. You are obviously in a different time zone than I am. It's like past 11 here where I am in the Greater Toronto area. But you're very kind to drop in. Fontucky, California. I've always enjoyed that name. And you being kind enough to interact and engage with my videos. I'm going to be honest with you. So I'm experimenting with this cool software that allows me to set up cool live streams with, like, you know, my logo and a title, and I can go through this PDF. I mean, that was the main thing. Something just happened here. Oh, okay. So this being my first time, anything could go wrong at any second, and I wouldn't know how to fix it. So there you go. So this is kind of neat. Like, look, I can run this cool live stream now, and I can, like, zoom right in. I can open up reports and stuff. I'm not that smooth at it, but let me see. I'll experiment. Of course, right now I'm covering you up. Yeah, right. Pretty cool. So here's one of the lines of evidence that the 2024 election was rigged. So let's compare. Let's compare this graph. It's from 2020, Texas party performance in the presidential race. But what we're looking at here is the drop-off rate. That's a term that Smart Elections coined when they first started looking into this. By the way, all these lines are counties in Texas. And a blue line is for for Joe Biden in 2020. And the red line is for Donald Trump. All right, so what are we looking at? Let me explain this. It took me a while to figure this out. Basically, the drop-off rate is the difference between the percentage difference between how many votes the president got versus something else down the ballot, usually the next thing down. And in this case, it was the senator. So what you're seeing right here, what I've got up to my, I guess, left, I think it would look like it's at my, I don't know, my left, your right, that big, that big graph there. So what we're looking at in 2020, the lines, when you see a big red line, it's too bad I can't really use a pointer or show you a pointer, but you'll notice, I know it's probably still pretty small unless you've got a huge screen. You'll notice there's a 0% line down the middle of these lines, and then you've got bars that are above 0% and bars that are below. So generally, in normal circumstances, a president gets about 1% to 2% more votes than the next thing down the ballot. So in this case, the senator is what they're comparing to. Because when you're doing data analysis, you have to be very strict with your parameters. What did you compare this to? You have to compare it to the same thing all the time. Not, well, I'm going to compare how many votes the president got compared to the senator, compared to the congressman, compared to the sheriff, compared to, whatever else might be down the ballot. So, so this is this mishmash from 2020 is a little more normal. If the lines are above 0%, let's say a blue line, that would mean Joe Biden got, I'm looking, I wish I could, I'll have to figure out how to use a pointer, but, just a little ways into the first line that goes up to, oh my goodness, I think it's pretty blurry, but it goes up to like 4%. So it's saying Joe Biden got 4% more votes than the Democratic senator. And that's what these are always comparing to, by the way. I believe. Okay, I'm a bit mixed up there. I have to admit. But let me just explain the gist of these down ballots, the drop-off rates. Here you see a good mix. Sometimes Donald Trump is getting a few percent more votes than the senator got. And so this is my question in my mind. Is that more votes than the Republican senator got? Perhaps I'll have to resort to how they explain it here. Let's zoom out for a moment, because now that I'm thinking of it, I'm not sure. I'm not that clear on that case. So the 2024 down ballot data across all swing states in Texas reveals voting patterns that are inconsistent with typical human behavior. By the way, you'll notice we got 2020 on the right, and then on the left here, you might not be able to read it very well, but that's 2024. That's the recent election. And now in 2024, you don't see a mishmash. You see Donald Trump constantly getting more votes than the senator. Maybe the initials actually are answering my question. Maybe, if anyone knows, type it in the chat. The chart with your explanation is showing me the inconsistencies. Yeah. So, maybe the explanation here will count that. We'll explain it and clear up my confusion. But it could be, this is, in 2024, these initials are Kamala Harris, and then CA versus CA. So I think those are the initials. And given that they're different initials, yeah, I'm almost convinced of this now. So what we're looking at with each line is the difference between each presidential candidate, how many votes they got, and how many votes their senator from their party got. That's what it is. And Fontucky, you said Ted Cruz. Yes. Okay, Ted Cruz, and that's for 2024, was the senator for Texas. then that makes sense because this is saying DT percentage kind of dash TC, Ted Cruz percentage. Yes, I learned something. I've learned so much just getting set up to do this live stream. Ladies and gentlemen, it was crazy. But I've learned a lot, but it's so complicated, like I won't be able to remember. It's one of those things I'll have to repeat over and over again. So now that I'm straight on this, hopefully I can help explain it a little better. So this is a good view. I'm going to zoom out one more notch here. And so that's a good view. So personally, I would have put 2020 on the left and 2024 on the right. You know, I think we just think of things that way. But here we see on the left the most recent election, and we can compare that to the previous election, 2020. 2020 looks more normal. A mix. Sometimes Kamala Harris gets a few more votes than the Democratic senator. Sorry, I said Kamala Harris. I meant Joe Biden because I'm talking about 2020 right now. Sometimes Joe Biden got more. Now, you'll see typically there's, you know, the presidential candidate typically will get more votes. It's more often you'll see bars above the line in 2020, anyways, in 2020 when things were more normal. And that's because sometimes people just, you know, the big election, you know, the big general election, they vote for the president and then they're just like, I'm out of here. I voted for the president. I don't care. I don't have time. I don't know about these people down this ballot. I don't even know who these guys are. They just vote for the president and then they, you know, deposit their ballot. So that's why typically you can expect a president to get 1 or 2% more votes than the next person down ballot from their same party. But generally, as a general rule, if a person votes Democratic, they vote Democratic. It's rare that, you know, a person, I mean, especially in the United States, and especially these days, right? Right? It's very polarized. So if a person's Republican, they're Republican. And if a person's Democratic, they're Democratic. Let me know if that's how you are. I've had plenty of discussions up here in Canada with my friends and neighbors and colleagues, and I know plenty of people, and I'm one of them, who, you know, sometimes will support the Liberal Party. Other times it's the NDP. Other times it's the Conservative Party. I have had both Liberal Party signs up on my lawn during elections and Conservative parties signs up on my lawn. But I think in the States, people are more polarized. Fontucky says, I'm vote down the ballot. So like you take the time to, you go down that ballot here. This is something as a Canadian I'm not used to, I'm not familiar with. Many of the jobs that you guys vote for in the States, they're just hired up here, like a sheriff and a judge and a district attorney and things like that. We don't vote for stuff like that. They just get hired, and we're not that familiar with the process involved. You know, like to become a judge, for example. How do you become a judge? You know, like you have to be a lawyer for a certain amount of time. There's a huge vetting process and all that kind of stuff. But I guess in the States, there's probably all that stuff, you know, the experience and the vetting and all that. But then I guess you get elected. Like you have to win an election. It's amazing to me. But it kind of makes sense. I'm not going to say one's better than the other. Yeah. So in that respect, Fontucky says, I don't understand all of it too. Yeah, I literally have a hard time imagining what your ballots look like. Like, are they really like long pieces of paper? Are they like pamphlets? Like this? I just happen to have one here. You know, are they like this? Like a pamphlet, and you're like voting for all these people, and then you fold it up and stick it in a box or something. Oh, wouldn't that be the way? Wouldn't that be the way? I mean, I really think everybody has to go back to paper ballots. But you know, back to the topic at hand. This is why you have to go back to to paper ballots. This is it in a nutshell. 2024, my opinion, 100%. The election was not only rigged, but aggressively rigged, like aggressively, to the point where, according to the data here, they didn't even care about getting caught. It's so obvious when you look at things like the drop-off rate. So in 2024 here, you'll see that Donald Trump constantly got more votes and significantly more votes. You can see how high those lines go up there. And I have to admit, even for me, huge screen here in front of me, I guess I'll just have to, I think it's saying 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Maybe I can just take a quick peek out on the web because, yeah, bear with me here. Which one of these graphs am I looking at right now? There's a better one I'm seeing in this. Oh, okay, here it is. Yeah, this is hard even on this. But I can zoom in here and I will be able to tell you in a second. Yep, it goes up to 10%. Okay, that's crazy. Nonetheless, we do see that in the 2020 election, which by the way I also believe was rigged, and 2016 as well. So the ETA has data that establishes that. And but nonetheless, they just got, from what we can tell from the data, they just got more and more aggressive with each election with the rigging. So this appears to be done through an algorithm that somehow got into the tabulation machines. The theory is not so much that it was the voting machines themselves, but the tabulation machines, which I have to learn more about. So I can see in 2020, let's see, 2, 4, 6. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 counties in Texas that are up around, they're either approaching 6% or even up as high as 8%, and one, whatever that one county is, where Donald Trump almost got 10% more votes than the Republican senator, whose initials were JC in 2020. But now compare that to 2024. Boom! Every single county except one. I can see one. There's one county where Donald Trump got just a smidgen, not even 1%, fewer votes than the Republican senator. One. And my goodness, that's a lot of counties. The average number of counties in an American state is 60 something. That's just the average. So some states have, well, this is Texas, right? So I'm trying to see if I zoomed in, I do see that they have numbers here. Can I read it? It looks to me like 253. If I'm reading that right. I think I'm reading it right. 253 counties. So out of 253 counties, Donald Trump constantly overperformed, like got more votes than the Republican senator. All right, fair enough. But Kamala Harris constantly, now there is, I think I can see 2 exceptions. And maybe another one where it's kind of hidden. They're just so tiny that you can't really see them. They're kind of covered up by the Republican bar. But I see 2 at least where Kamala Harris got just a smidgen, not even 1% more votes than the Democratic senator in Texas. All of the other counties, and apparently it looks like there's 253 counties in in Texas. Oh yeah, and Fontaki, sorry, I'm just monitoring here. How do I get rid of this thing? You have to run. You'll watch it later. The live setup looks great. Have a good night. Hey, Fontaki, California. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching and for helping me test this out. And thank you. I hope it looks great. It was really complicated to set this up. But yeah, I'll keep going just a few more moments and test this stuff out. And yeah, and then I'll sign off for the night. So what we're seeing here, ladies and gentlemen, is that Kamala Harris constantly got fewer votes than the Democratic senator. Constantly. So it looks like out of 253 counties, maybe there's like 5 or something. I can just see little blank spots in these bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 little blank spots out of 253 where Kamala Harris got a smidgen more votes than the Democratic senator. All the others, she got fewer votes. So what is that saying? At the end of the day, when the rubber hits the road, what that is saying is that someone voted for a Democratic senator, but then voted for Donald Trump. Really? In this polarized nation of the United States of America? Can you really see that? You really think that happened? Hey, happening every now and then. Maybe someone just who's kind of just enamored for whatever reason with Donald Trump. But they've always been a Democrat. But they just love Donald Trump. Maybe they bought his shoes. Maybe they bought his watch. Maybe they bought his Bible. All right, here and there. That would be a super unusual individual, right? That would be unusual. So to suggest that it happened so often that that about 245 counties out of 253 counties, people who voted for the Democratic senator, went on to vote for Donald Trump. Come on. That's unbelievable. That's just, you're asking too much if you're asking someone to believe that. If you want to ask me, like, can you believe that could be possible for a person? You know, a few people, a handful of people, maybe a couple of hundred people in the whole country or something like that. Sure, I'd believe that. Across the board like this, across the board, every single time, almost every single time, Donald Trump constantly getting more votes. Think about this now. More votes than the Republican senator. Some of those would be because someone just voted for president and then just handed their ballot in. But most of them would be because they voted for a Democratic senator and then voted for Donald Trump. Really? Come on. That's ballot switching, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the fingerprint of it. The data will show it. Whoever's dreaming up the ways to, you know, rig these elections, they're diabolical, they're clever, but the data will tell on them. The data will rat them out. The data is ratting them out. Like, this is ridiculous. No, sorry. In reality world, millions of people did not vote for a Democratic senator, but then go on to vote for Donald Trump. Didn't happen. The data says it happened, but that data tells us, the same data that tells us that Donald Trump is was elected president of the United States, also tells us that Donald Trump cheated. So which way do you want it? If you don't want us to believe this data, then I guess we can't believe that Donald Trump has, won the election. If you want us to believe this data, then the data also says he cheated. Sorry. Can't have it both ways. That's how it goes. So that's the drop-off rate, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Walter Mebane, he's the expert that, he's a preeminent expert on elections and examines and analyzes elections from all over the world. And he sees this kind of stuff all the time in countries like Russia and so on, where the elections are rigged. But he looked at in specific, he looked at Pennsylvania, but he basically said, yeah, this was rigged. This election was rigged. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much for joining me this evening in my test of my new live streaming software. It was a slice. And we had Fontucky, California, one of my favorite names of my subscribers, joining me. So that's great. Now, what I'm going to try doing is signing off, and we'll see how this works. We'll see. We'll see how this works. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Now that I've learned how to do this, if I can manage to piece all this stuff back together and get it working again, what a crazy adventure that was, then I will be back. And I hope to be back with some friends. But for that, I'll have to learn how to invite people into my live streams. But that would be great. So I look forward to that in the future. Until then, I'm signing off. For Policy Watch, I'm Art Lightstone. Have a fine evening.